It's a great pleasure to introduce Mr. Tim Hames. He is the Director General of the British Private Equity and Venture Capital Association. Tim, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you.
Got a number of questions here that the production team have prepared. What does the British Private Equity and Venture Capital Association do, and who does it help?
Right, well, it represents a pretty broad spectrum across the whole industry involved in both private equity. Private equity tends to be about the acquisition, management change and then sale of mature established businesses, and venture capital, which by contrast tends to be about taking minority stakes in much earlier stage, more risky, more innovative, frequently more high-tech businesses. So they're two different but complementary ends, and it's our objective to try and boost both of them as actors in the economy.
And in terms of this sector, how does it currently look in sort of London and Europe?
Oh, much better than, say, 4 years ago. If we'd had this conversation in February 2012, it would have been pretty downbeat, particularly at the venture capital, early stage innovation end of the market. The gentleman you spoke to earlier with his brilliant ideas around helmets would have found it much harder to attract sort of interest from investors. He would have found it harder to promote the idea to a wider constituency, and there weren't enough of people like him, to be honest. Whereas what's really striking about not just London but the whole UK scene today is there's more money going in to earlier stage, slightly more therefore kind of risky investments, and the quality of people and products has improved by a kind of leaps and bounds in a relatively short period of time.
Right. But we've seen irrational exuberance in the stock markets at the moment. Has this had a knock-on effect into VC?
Not really, and the two worlds are quite different indeed. Of course, obviously, for most of January, the stock markets were engaging in quite rational pessimism rather than irrational exuberance. No, I mean, because the stock market is about quoted institutions which are very kind of long established. The VC world is much more exploratory. It matters much more whether or not, for example, AIM, the junior element of the stock market, is open, alive, and well as one of the options for funding.
But it's very sick at the moment, the AIM market.
Well, it's again, I'd say compared with 4 years ago, when virtually nobody in the kind of VC space looked to AIM. If you had a high-tech company you wanted to get that sort of capital for, you automatically gravitated to the NASDAQ. 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10. It is, at least on the pitch, and it is moving the ball around a bit now because the tax treatment has changed, and also, there are advantages in going on into a more of a home market. So, so I'm pretty upbeat on that score.
Right. What's hot at the moment?
Anything to do with fintech, financial tech, is particularly hot. And what's really striking for me as a sort of somebody who's not a participant but has a helicopter view is, firstly, that the people involved in the fintech sector are quite different in some ways to those involved in, say, digital media or medtech. And what I mean by that is these are businesses being founded normally by a combination of individuals who've worked inside the financial services sector, particularly banks, for 10, 15 years, and kind of know all the dirty secrets about stuff that's being overcharged for historically, or where technology hasn't kept up with broader societal trends. And you get these sort of 37, 38-year-olds teaming up with 22, 23-year-olds who are technologically kind of streets ahead of not only them but all of us, but who don't have that experience in the financial service sector. And the combination of those two is, I think, incredibly powerful. And we're already seeing that, for example, in the whole foreign exchange market, where TransferWise has gone from virtually nothing, nowhere 4 years ago, to being the sort of institution that most young people between the ages of 16 and 25 who are thinking about changing money would instantly gravitate towards. And we were going into a bank. That's an extraordinarily retro thing to do.
Yeah. In terms of sectors, are there any sort of leaders at the moment?
Well, beyond fintech, I think there's a lot of interest in the sort of medtech area. The UK has long had a tradition of being very innovative around sort of the healthcare products market, and that's obviously scalable and globalizable, if that's such a word. Relatively
good.
It sounds big, doesn't it? Globalizable. So that's very kind of interesting. Cybersecurity. A lot of interest in that whole world now. People used to think that cybersecurity was just something about governments, spying on governments and that kind of spook type activity. No, issues to do with cybersecurity are now absolutely fundamental for businesses of all shapes and sizes, not merely because of foreign governments. And the danger of sort of system penetration is kind of enormously important, as we saw, for example, with the whole episode around TalkTalk last October.
I was going to raise TalkTalk because the headlines, obviously, share price collapsed and just an all-round bad news.
Share price collapsed. In fairness to the company, I mean, it's shown some resilience. I think it's, I think the chief executive there, Dido Harding, showed some guts in coming out and sort of, taking the punches and throwing a few back. So I'd be reluctant to assume that that's.
But this was a kid, wasn't it, in Ireland, sitting in his bedroom allegedly?
Yeah, but I'm afraid it's kids, full stop, who understand these things better than most of us do. I mean, I think if I were paying for the BVCA's computer system to be stress tested, I think I'd rather sort of hire a bunch of 13-year-olds than I would a bunch of 30-year-olds, because I think the truth is technology moves so quickly. Even those who are relatively adept at it are being outpaced by kind of the young and the new.
OK, well, we're running out of time, Tim. Give me a final thought.
Well, I think the big picture thought is really one of optimism for the UK in this area. We are attracting money. We're attracting talent from all over the world to come to clusters. London's been a front runner, but you now see it in Newcastle, Edinburgh, Manchester. And it's the quality of people. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if you've got high quality people with high quality ideas, with access to respectable amounts of money, it should work.
You've got a chance. OK, Tim Hames, the Director General of the British Private Equity and Venture Capital Association, thank you very much.